All right, here we are with a brand new camera setup. I don't know how loud the music is going to be or what the audio is going to be like, so bear with me. If it's too loud, the music in the background, do let me know. If I'm not loud enough, I'll do my best to fix it, and we'll just go from there. So I'm working on a double-page spread for my for the comic book that I'm working on. I got to remember where to look. The camera's somewhere different now. But I'm working on a double-page spread for my comic book project. It's going to be my next book, and this is it. So I'm working on some skeletons right now. I hope everybody's well, having a good evening. Happy Saturday, if it's Saturday where you are. And trying out a brand new setup using different cameras, and I'm going to use my streaming camera, the one I've been pointing at my face, to do the actual recording of the paper, which strikes me as the more important of the two. So what we've got here, see if I can get even closer. What we've got, starting to rotate a little bit. What we've got right there is a horde of skeletons inside of this tunnel that my characters, or at least my hero, is able to travel through when they are going from place to place. It's kind of their transportation. And so I'm putting what is in the walls of it. So it's a little bit like going through, Hades, not to put too fine a point on it. And they are seeing all of these skeletal forms, and the character that just got rescued, who's seeing this for the first time, is seeing all these skeletal forms inside of this passageway, this interdimensional type passageway. But it's probably, I don't like using interdimensional because that's a little bit too scientific and science fiction. It's kind of much more like going through a I don't know what we would call it. Interdimensional is sort of the go-to, but it's like going through a different spiritual plane. Hey, Sarah, how you doing? Good to see you. I activated the sound for when people comment and come into the chat because otherwise I don't notice it, and I didn't realize that was off. But I hope you're doing well and having a good time. Happy Saturday. Here we go. Good, hanging in there, sort of decompressing and getting some painting done. But yeah, other than that, doing really well. Just spending time with the family and getting a lot of writing done on this story. Kind of writing as I illustrate. There you go. Oof. Yeah, that is something. Yeah, I got my second one and I did okay. Yeah, ooh. Yeah, my first one was the one, believe it or not, my first one hurt worse than my second one. And I just think that had a little bit to do with the person who put it in. I think they were trying to hit bone. I'm not positive, but yeah, it was really weird. It was a weird. The first shot was a weird experience. It felt like getting a shot from a resident. And I was like, oh, okay, so, first time. And yeah, they there was no Band-Aid or anything. I don't know if they wiped it before they gave me the shot. It was a very weird experience. But I'm alive, I think, so, could be worse. But yeah, that was really strange. But then, the second one, I was a little bit tired, but honestly, I was just tired anyway, so it wasn't too bad. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't. Yeah. When they ask me what arm to put it in, I'm like, always not my drawing arm. Because yeah, I mean, with the first one, I couldn't really even use that arm. It hurt to lay on it. It was not fun. So it was kind of more of I don't think it was like an injection site reaction because I've had that before. It was more of a just the where the needle went in. Less than fun. Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Not a big fan of ever, it's kind of funny because I was thinking about that, I was thinking, I would say to people when I got shot when I got shots, not when I got shot, but when I got shots at first, I would say to people, oh, where do you want? I go, not my drawing arm. And it never dawned on me that almost every artist that I'm a fan of is left-handed. So I thought it was kind of funny that I just assumed they would know that was my right arm, or what a drawing arm even means. So yeah, one of those things. But yeah, I'm doing quite well. Just, I mean, the main thing is just been painting like crazy. I mean, the weather's been nuts, but can't complain about that. Just got subscribed to an amazing streaming service, which is Townsend's Plus, which is the 18th century cooking and blacksmithing. It's just so cool. So I've been enjoying that. That's just a really great educational streaming service, and it's amazing. They built something. So they're not only on YouTube, but they built their own streaming service, which is so cool. I think I've got to put in, I just realized that's pretty far away, so let's see if I can zoom in. And what will that do? I feel like I need to tighten up the arm there to get it to stay where I want it to stay, but we'll see. Yeah, it's probably going to do a slow rotation, but we'll line it up accordingly. But I need to put in the nasal cavity on that skeleton, even though I'm going to go in and put something lighter on the inside. It's making it harder for me to kind of get a sense of where the face is. So I'm just going to go in and kind of put in that shape. Here we go. And then I watched, let's see, what have I been up to? I watched Evil Dead 2 a few times this week, which is great because it's kind of putting me in the proper frame of mind for the stuff I'm doing right here. Even though it's not so much a comedy, I do love the way they handle horror in that, which I think is just a really fun movie. Let's see where I need this to be. There we go. Oh wow, this looks so much better than it used to look when I was using the iPhone for it. Nice. Very cool. Okay, excellent, Sarah. Take care. Have a good evening. Yeah, spend time with significant others. Don't get, totally. No stream is worth that. Missing out on that. So let me see here. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there and then kind of get that anatomy sorted out. And then we'll put the collarbone in there a little bit. It's tough because whenever I'm working on this stuff, I'm not thinking in terms of, particularly with comic book stuff, I want it to have some believability to it, but I'm always, trying to be cautious not to lose the cartoony aspect of it. I would say Mark Davis's work on Disney's Haunted Mansion theme park ride is one of my ideal aesthetics, although a case could be made for, Universal horror movies and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different influences I have when it comes to this work. And but I want it to be playful and I want it to be fun. I don't want it to be overly fraught with accuracy and it's missing a soul. No pun intended. As I'm kind of... Actually, that's a really good one. Make a little bit of a Raiders of the Lost Ark reference here. It's almost like a well of souls that these characters are in. That's the best way I could put it. See if I can adjust this paper here. There we go. It's like I always have to figure out when I'm doing these streams where to place my thumb. I'm not so worried about it being in shot, but I don't want to bend my paper because I've got this really... I'm running into some foam core here. I've got this really precarious balancing act right here sometimes, and I'm off frame, so let's move that down a bit. There we go. That's a little better. And oh, I see what it is. It's this not being underneath. There. That's not going to make it bend. Okay, so here we go. And with a lot of these little details that we do, it's just about creating, when I do a double page spread like this, it's about creating an image that I also want to think of as being an art print and being tied into the story. And the real trick for me is, whenever I'm doing something like that, is I'm trying to create something that is iconic, that you've never seen before. And that's really tough to do because, it's almost like deciding ahead of time that you're going to do something classic. You really can't do it. So, I don't get so wrapped up in it. I think every artist probably tries to do something that's going to be great every single time, hopefully, right? Every single time they sit down to do their artwork. But I've been looking at some amazing stuff lately, and it really inspires me. When I look at great artwork and great artists who are just putting all their time in, I just go, oh my gosh, I better step it up. And that's the most fun part of being an artist. I saw a great meme today that had me laughing, and it was it showed oh my gosh, totally blanking on his name, Willem Dafoe in Life Aquatic, and it said what you think making comics is going to be, and then it was a picture of Willem Dafoe in the lighthouse looking all grizzled and exhausted, and it said what making comics actually is. And I think it was a pretty good, accurate way of describing it here. Hey! Boss has entered the chat. There you go. How are we doing, Moss? Are we doing well? It's like people are tagging in and tagging out. Let me see here. I've got... That looks like that's working. Okay, let's see here. Oh, congratulations. New job. That'll do. Very cool. Congratulations. I don't know where to look because I got my camera moved. I'm going to have to put a arrow that says, look this way. It's for when I look over. Excellent. I've got that notifications on, so when people put something in the chat, I can actually hear it now. I had that turned off, and I wasn't aware of it. So I would just look up, and there would be all these messages while I was painting. And I just can't, I can't do the, checking the mirrors out the side thing very easily when I'm painting. So it's way better for me to have some audio. That's kind of fun right there. I think I know what I'm going to do when I'm putting those teeth in on it. So I don't want to get too caught up in the detail just yet because, and that's always the danger when I'm doing this, because I want to make sure that there's enough of, the overall work done to where I can see what these things are going to be. And I settled on having this kind of, they're coming out of this, it's like there's so many different mythological elements that we can talk about whenever we're doing this sort of stuff, like the river Styx and, Well of Souls and all that other kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you make aesthetic decisions, and one of mine was that there was going to be this, that I was going to keep the skeletons more or less dark in the final, and I was going to have this kind of blue glowing light coming from behind them. And so that really is what it comes down to, is just making those choices and those decisions. And I ordered some little skeleton figures for reference that I'm hoping will come soon in the next couple of days, just because I want to be able to have something for lighting. There we go. I think that'll do a little bit better right there. There we go. There we are. So that brings a little bit more of the look that I want for the skeletons. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go work into some of the skeletons that are higher up. So I'm going to tilt that camera a little bit. There we go. There. So now we can kind of see a little bit more of what's going on. And so these will be a little bit quicker just for me to get some value notes in there. I want all, it's almost like in this place, in this plane, let's say, this plane of existence that they travel through. The characters, everybody in it is sort of like a crab in a bucket. So everybody is reaching towards the living as they go through this plane, but they're also holding each other back from being able to get out. So it's one of those metaphors and visual metaphors for, the futility of those types of circumstances, and how do you avoid them. And as these characters are living and they go through this, it's kind of, well, for the character who is, this is their first rodeo in terms of going through this thing. It's kind of this, this sudden awareness of this place, and then it's explained later to the character so that I can explain it to the audience. But you're getting a little bit of a glimpse of it ahead of time. So there you go. So mix in a little bit of green, mix in a little bit of blue, and then we'll go in and start playing around with some of those contrast notes. Put some of that in there. And a little bit more right in there. There we go. And so for the, I should put a lid on that before I dip my brush into the ink instead of dipping it into the water, which can happen. So right here, I'm going to, I think that was, of all the things I've seen recently, I really loved that, that seeing the what illustrating comic books, or what making comic books seems like versus what it actually is. Because I've made a few comic books in my time, certainly, both professionally, but also self-publishing from the time I was, 14, and then self-published a couple of books. And I just think that one of the best things, and one thing I'm really fortunate about is that, we can decide whether that's, it works out for the best or not when we get to the other side, is that because I do everything, I don't have to, there's no one but me. So I get to talk to the printer. I'm responsible for everything, but I don't have to wait on anybody. And that's a really nice aspect of this. It's like, my wife and I are sort of the team, that do all this stuff. And she's a great teammate. And, and as far as the art end goes, when, the work is in production, I don't have to worry about contacting an artist and saying, hey, where's my artwork? Because I'm that person. So I kind of, I don't know, I like that kind of, I like having that, I don't want to say, it's not really so much control as it is responsibility. I like being the one that's responsible for getting the project done and not having to worry about, whether, the stuff that comes up with the printer and the stuff that comes up with shipping is enough. But if I was a writer waiting on an artist, I just don't know how I would do that. That seems like it would be really exhausting and really stressful. So yeah, I don't know how I would handle that. But I mean, people who do, it's amazing. I'm organizing all of that. Seems like it's a lot. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. And it's good to have you here. Good to have you with us. Keep looking for the camera because I changed my setup. There we go. So yeah, just listening to some spooky music and thinking about all of the fun horror stuff that I like, and creatures and skeletons. And we'll see where it all goes. So this is a double page spread for an upcoming comic that I'm going to be crowdfunding on Indiegogo. And that's, again, it's the fun thing about it is it's I don't have to worry so much about format, being that of a comic book. So it's going to be a square bound book that's just like my two art books. And the cool thing about that is that, it's a different scale. It's a little bit more like bande dessinée, European comics in that sense, in terms of the page size, which means that you can see more detail on the artwork. And I don't know, I like working in that format, so it fits with my other art books. But, it's fun to me. I love making art books, and the thought of doing this stuff, I love comic book scale. I love people who do it. But the thought of working in that scale is, because I've done it before, it's so small. Like, it's that extra inch and a half, I think, that is, it's tough for me in terms of the loss of detail. And so, oh yeah, here we go. This skull up here, and I want to try to see if I can move this without it giving me too much trouble. because it will give me trouble when I do stuff like this. Let's move that over a little bit, and then if it moves, we can do that. But this skull up there, because they're all kind of like, thwarting each other, it's almost like, if I didn't cartoon the skulls, I don't think I would get the kind of reaction or the emotion that I want to get. So I really want this skull to be, acting. I want it to have a nice, kind of dramatic gesture to it. So I want its mouth open. Like, I'm definitely not held to realism when I'm doing this stuff, even though I want it to be believable in the sense of suspension of disbelief. But I really want to be able to do those big cartoony skulls because it's a comic. We recently lost the artist who does a comic book called Berserk, and one of the things about that is that, what I loved about that work is that it was that perfect mixture of, kind of cartoony and believability, realism. So I definitely identify with that. Love that stuff. It's so cool. But there's so much great stuff being done right now. I love what, indie comics are doing right now, because I grew up on, things like Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and, comics like Grips by Tim Vigil and all of that stuff. And so I'm always happy when that industry is, or I should say industry, when the indie scene is thriving, because I think that's where some of the best stuff can come from. There we go. Now it looks like he's a little simple move like that, and the character now looks like he's smiling. So I have to go in and kind of correct that a little bit there. There we go. And that's how simple those brush moves are when you're cartooning. You change something just a little bit, and it suddenly is like, we're having a party down here. Why don't you join us? Here we go. Yeah, that's coming together. Well, that's the hope. Yeah, for me, I've been doing it for so long, and I definitely care. So, very good point there. I definitely care. There's no getting around there. But it's the longest relationship that I've had, and I've been married for 20 years. And it's ever since I was a kid, I've been trying to figure this crazy thing out called art. And I think it's like developing any skill. It is really intensely rewarding. I recently started learning how to play the violin, and it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And I'm starting it at, in my 40s, and I'm just looking at it going, oh my God. But I love it. It's brought music into my life. And so, yeah, when people are asking me about art and drawing, I'm always like, just throw yourself into it. And, I do a lot of other things as well. So it doesn't mean it has to be the only way to get good at it is for it to exclusively be the only thing you do. But I think it's important to make the decision when you're going to do anything, like with the violin. I'm going to get better at this. It doesn't mean I'm going to be, a concert violinist. That's not going to happen. But I'm not going to work as if I don't care. And it's a great thing to do, is to get serious about stuff and put your time into it, because it always is way more rewarding. It's anything worth doing is worth doing well, as they say. Here we go. Okay, we got some skeletons happening in there. Now I just got to make sure I define that jaw as being a little bit smaller, because the mouth is open more, but if I get the scale out of place, then it's not going to work. I can play with scale a little bit, but by the time I get to this skull over here, and you guys are getting a little bit of an angled camera shot, but by the time I get to that skull, if it is not reasonably smaller, the audience is going to, and the viewer will look at it and sense something there that's a little bit off. And I'll step back from it, because it's a pretty big piece. So I'll step back from it at some point, and kind of look at, like, oh, okay, well, how is this thing coming together? How is it working in terms of, the entire piece. So you can see there's obviously a lot more going on in it than just, just that. Just the skeletons in there. In fact, the skeletons are more environmental than they are the subject. So when I go to this character right in here, I'm going to go in and just shade that a little bit more. There we go. And as always, try not to make it look like it's laughing and having a great time. I mean, it might, for all we know, but it's supposed to be a little bit more like purgatory than it is supposed to be a vacation or a cruise. So I want to make sure I get that. I mean, this is the problem, right? Is that I was really influenced by the Haunted Mansion in Disney World. I love that. When I was a kid, I loved I mean, I still love it, but it's not like I'm going every day or anything like that. It's pretty far and pretty expensive to go there, but I love the Haunted Mansion, have so many fond memories of it, and it was fun. It was scary, but it was fun. And that's what I kind of like. It didn't say, oh, don't take this seriously, because there were some things in there that were funny, but it was also, there were things in there where they made, no pun intended, no bones about the fact that it was scary. Things like that. There was wonderful bad humor, just like with me. A lot of dad humor. So, there you go. Oh, no kidding. Yeah, it's, this is going to sound like it's a poor substitute, but my favorite way to go to Disney World as of late, and Disneyland as of late, is to go by YouTubers. So go to there's some great YouTube channels if you want to check it out. What's the one? Resort TV 1 is one of my favorite YouTube channels to go for theme park stuff. Really nice channel. They just go around and they do all the rides. They live stream, and they do the Haunted Mansion a fair amount. Then there's, I think it's SoCal 360, and they do a lot of different theme parks. But Resort TV 1 also does Universal. So if you've never been to Universal, and I haven't been in ages, you can... Oh, I'm liking how that's coming out. I hope I don't mess that up when I go to finish. But if you haven't been, it's totally worth checking those things out, because you can get... In some cases, you can get better views. I'm not putting down actually going there, but in some cases, you can get better views than you would be able to see if you were there. Because you can only look in one direction, and they do a really good job of showing you everything from different directions. But yeah, it's totally worth checking out. I have a book next to me on the Haunted Mansion right now, so I love looking at stuff like that, and the work of Mark Davis, who did a lot of work on the Haunted Mansion. And there's people who are so into Haunted Mansion. I mean, they're just huge fans of it. And I have a couple of Haunted Mansion things that I take out for Halloween every year, because I also love Halloween. And I'm just making sure I'm still in frame here. Let me see here. If I move this over a little bit, will it adjust the colors? Just a little bit. So yeah, but I have a lot of love for the Haunted Mansion and that kind of style of scary. But as I get older, I watch a little bit more. I've watched a lot more scary stuff than that, and then a lot of fun scary stuff. So the Evil Dead movies come to mind. But in terms of scary, I think The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix was the most terrifying things I've ever seen. If you are easily scared, by all means, do not watch that. It's terrifying. Not for kids by any stretch of the imagination. If any kids are watching, don't watch that for 1,000,001 reasons. But it's really, it's great stuff. Oh, there we go. A little bit of a highlight on there. So the big part of it is to make this stuff, a little bit more wispy and playful. So if I can go in, there you go. Yeah, don't watch that. It's definitely the case. But let me see here. There we go. Yeah, avoid that at all costs. And if you're an easily frightened adult, also don't watch it. Let me see here. So here we go. All right, so we're starting to get the kind of wispy quality that we need to have in order to just kind of create this graceful. It's sort of hard to describe, but this graceful sort of quality of spirits. I mean, another movie I watched when I was a kid that had some fun, scary stuff to it was a movie called Beetlejuice, directed by Tim Burton, and that movie does a really good job with doing scary fun really well. And so for me, that stuff is always going to be in the forefront of my mind when I'm doing my artwork. There we go. And this is, I mean, these opaque watercolors I use, which are by this company called Pelikan, Pelikan, are really great because they're not that expensive and they have a really nice amount of opacifier in them, so you can get really rich, vibrant colors that coat, and you can paint over things that you put down initially, which is fun. You know, it gives it... It's basically gouache for all intents and purposes, but opaque watercolor is fun. Yes, Michael, it's been a while, my friend. It has been a while since I've done one, so you're catching... It's been a while since I've done one, so you're catching one of the first in a bit. I hope you're well, my friend. I hope you are well. Let me see here. Oh, nice. Excellent. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. Yeah, Beetlejuice is to me one of those just quintessential Tim Burton movies, and quintessential rites of passage. Thank you. Well, hey, we're gonna be doing our art lessons whenever you're ready, man. Whenever work calms down, we're gonna be doing that stuff. But I appreciate you saying so. You make making movies look easy. I love anybody in the chat who has not seen it yet. All right, take care, my friend. Have a good evening. Anyone who has not seen it, go check out Starship Valiant on YouTube. It is some of the best Trek being done today, in my opinion. That is just how it is, and my family's opinion. Oh, Michael, please tell your better half I said happy birthday, by the way, while I've got you in here. I just remembered that. Wishing her many happy returns, as they say. All my family in India used to use that Britishism. Oh, well, from your lips to God's ears. I don't know. I don't know if I think of it being easy. It is insane. But I was actually watching today. You'll appreciate this as an indie filmmaker yourself. I was watching Evil Dead 2 and all the behind the scenes features on it, and I'm still amazed at everything Sam Raimi did in that. I mean, the special effects guys who all went on to work in Star Trek and the Orville and Star Wars and Narnia and all these incredible movies that were just living in, I guess it was North Carolina for the making of that film that apparently took place in Tennessee, but it was filmed in North Carolina. It was an odd switch to me. But it's amazing. If you haven't, I'm sure you have it on Blu-ray, and I'm sure you've seen them, but if you haven't watched the bonus features on that yet, you would absolutely love them. I imagine as a filmmaker, you would see so much more than I would ever be able to see on it. But it's really, it's so worth it. I got the Evil Dead 1 and 2 set that comes with both of them, so it's not a wildly expensive set, but it's really good. Oh, no kidding. Yeah, I hope it's good. I absolutely hope it's good. I mean, people will turn out no matter what, but yeah, I really hope it's good, because those movies they're so creative and they're so fun. It amazes me that I didn't know anything about H.P. Lovecraft even remotely. And when I saw those movies, I was growing up in Chattanooga, so I didn't things like the Necronomicon and all that. I didn't know were referencing anything from literature. But before it's all done, one of my bucket list dream things is to work on a horror project or something with you, because I know you love horror and I love the idea of doing that genre. It's so fun. Yeah, I heard. You know what's so interesting? I saw someone reviewing that. There you go. There you go. It was an interesting thing for me, because I saw the what's the word I'm looking for? I saw the someone doing a review of that movie, and I was like, that's amazing, holy cow, it's so cool, like, just to see what they did with it, that they didn't do, they kind of nodded to the fact that the other one had taken place, but it's good to hear that you like it, because I'm on the fence about checking it out. I scare easily, so but I love Evil Dead so much, I just don't want it to be be less than exciting, There we go. Coming together here. So this piece of paper is, gosh, let me think here. I think it's about, let me get out my ruler for a second, actually. This is 14 and a half by, I want to say 21 or 22. So it's pretty big. I just saw the first couple of episodes, and Michael, I loved what I saw from the start. So I know it didn't go past, I think, one season, but it looked fantastic. So what did you think of it? Did you like it? I'll see what we got there. And I don't think I can pronounce, I was just looking at the name, I don't think I can pronounce the first part of of that name, so I can just go with Alex. And I just saw that and I thought, I have a very, very cool niece named Alex. You might not know that, but I do. All right. Oh, you didn't mind it. Okay, good. So sort of 50-50 on it. You'd prefer to see see another film from Sam. That makes sense to me. I mean, like I said, I just saw the first one. And for me, the films kind of exist in their own world, and I like, I like the world that they built in that, and the remake or whatever. It seemed like it played it a little bit more straight, even though it had a lot of the same themes. Like it wasn't as much of a comedy, or slapstick. Oh gosh, I've just started it. Just started the comic. So I'm on, God, how many pages do I have done right now? I would say I'm about, oh, that's tough to say. I'd say I'm about a tenth of the way done. Like, it's very possible that I'm more than a tenth of the way done, to be honest with you, but I feel more comfortable saying that. So I've got a double page spread and then 3 regular pages done on it, and I picture the book as being, right now I'm not sure. I mean, the book itself is going to be 40 pages, but I'm not sure exactly how far it's going to go. Yeah, I'll try to do that when I get a chance. You're the second person who's talked to me about that person today. So I'll have to see what it's about. So here's the biggest trick to having thin lines. The trick to having thin lines is, one, you have to have a brush with a good point. Does not matter. Within reason, it doesn't matter how big the brush is. So this brush is it's not the smallest brush that I have, but it's fairly large by certain standards. But the real trick is getting your paint mixture to be correct. So you want to make sure that the viscosity on your paint moves and slides so that it's not dragging. If your paint is too dry, it's going to drag and it's going to leave those kind of like broken lines. And if it is too watery, it's just going to get everywhere. So the trick is really with that paint viscosity. Like, that's everything. So what I do when I'm teaching people how to paint is I will do little exercises where we practice the paint viscosity to make sure that we get the detail. I know. I'm pretty good at deducting what's going on. I've got a little bit of Sherlock Holmes. I play the violin. So here we go. So I thought you'd appreciate that, though. And I can't wait to see you. So it's going to be fun to come and visit. So here's what I mean. So if you look at this, and I go, and this is with the proper viscosity, I plant my palm down on the paper like this, and I move it like this. I go across. So I don't move my fingers, I move my arm, and I gauge the distance. And then I just let the point of the brush do the work. Now, if I have too much paint and not enough water, so I'm using like a watercolor, like those dried circular watercolors, and I try to do something, darn, I'm too good. But if it's too dry, it'll do things like that where you're going to get a broken line and it won't move as easily. And if I do it to where it's too watery, it risks giving me a thin, watery line like that. So what I try to do is I try to mix a paint consistency that is, what's a good way of putting it? It's like warm butter in a sense that it kind of just moves across the surface. It's not like frosting a cake. You don't want it to be that thick. And it's not runny. So that's the big thing, is to make sure that it's not runny when you're mixing that paint. And so that's really the trick. If the brush has a point to it, which I always say, don't ever leave your round brushes, point down in your water, because if you do that, it kills the point. And don't ever jab your brushes down with the metal when you're cleaning them, which is what a lot of people do. I used to do that, because what it does is it acts like a curling iron. So the metal part of the brush, the round part right there, will push against the hairs, and then it'll cause them to curl out, and you'll lose your point. So one of the biggest things you want to do whenever you get a brush, and these aren't cheap, nor are they expensive. The brushes I use, they're synthetic sable, and they're what's the word I'm looking for? They're probably $6 each or something like that, I think, depending on when I get them. $6 or $7. And the thing about it is that they allow for us as artists to get a good point, and then what's the Mary Poppins expression? Enough is as good as a feast. All you need is a material that's good enough to get the job done. You don't need to buy the most expensive stuff, and I don't do that myself. Most expensive thing I buy is probably the paper. That would probably be the one I spend the most money on, and a sheet of this, which is gigantic. It's I think it's 36 by 22. I could be wrong, but it's a pretty large sized paper. It may even be bigger than that. And it's I think it's about $15 a sheet, maybe, for that. So I have to get a pretty big painting out of each one. It's not what you need to learn how to paint by any stretch. I mean, you don't need that to learn how to paint, but because of the way I work, I need it for what I do. There we go. So putting another skull in there, and again, I'm always thinking of things like Disney's Halloween Treat and all of the stuff I grew up on. Things like the Lonesome Ghosts, where Mickey Mouse, Goofy, and Donald Duck. Was Donald in that one? Yeah, he was. Go into the. Of course he was, right? Go into the haunted house, and they go in there for some reason. They go in there with shotguns, which I don't know what that would do to a ghost. I'm not a scientist, but yeah. Yeah, I used to a lot, but here's the thing I would tell you about a $15 sheet of paper, and this is the reason why I like it. Interestingly enough, this paper, Omar, and it's good to have you here, by the way. This paper you can roof a house with. So if you make a mistake on this, you can paint over it. It is that solid of a paper. So it's your mistakes have less consequences. And if you've ever painted on, this is 300-pound cold press. So I'll show you. Actually, I have another page right here that I can show you on. So this is another page that I'm working on right now, and so this is a smaller kind of comic book page, if that makes sense. You can kind of see the smoke and you can see the figures. This is what the side of the paper looks like. So it's like cardboard. Like, it is really solid. So you're getting a lot more weight, so it doesn't bend as much when you put the when you put water onto it. So it's so much less stressful. Like, I can do anything to this paper. I can use ink. I can work over it with paint. I can get I try not to pour buckets of water on it because it will lose its shape. But it's a great paper to work on. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's I've been thinking about this project for a while. I just didn't know where it was going to go. Okay, so the paints that I use a tube of gouache, which I have a feeling Moss is laughing at that right now. Um, I use a tube of gouache. Let's see if I can get that in camera. There it is. And this is a big tube of it, but it costs about $12, so that's pretty expensive. But you get a lot of use. That's a big tube. You don't need to buy a big tube of it. You can get a smaller tube for $8. And then my entire paint set of 24 colors costs about $20, $25. So you get 24 colors. It's incredibly cheap by comparisons of what a lot of professionals use, and it works great. Someone is saying go to bed. I don't know which person that is, but you never know. If that's to me or some of you guys. Oh my goodness. That's right. There you go. Yeah, everybody knows knows about my gouache use who's ever had me as a student. So it's one of those things. Here we go. If only I knew how to go to bed. You'd think I would have learned it by now. I'm old enough, certainly. So let's see here. Okay, so I'm getting that skull in there, and so this is the thing about studying anatomy and studying things like that and how they work. What you start to learn is not so much the outline of a thing, but you learn the shapes it makes when light hits it, and that's really important. Oh, thank you so much, Dancing Demon. I appreciate that. It's one of those things to where you start to figure out like how it goes. Well, the stuff you were doing with flesh tone was fantastic. So the last stuff I saw looked great. So keep going. That was looking really, really sharp. Yeah, I mean, you start to look at things and sort of see the light. Like I think that oftentimes what we miss is how light creates the aesthetic of these things and like how important that is. There we go. Got a little face that's hanging back there. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, when people work hard to get their artwork there, it's always great to see, and it's always something I like to celebrate. Because I was terrified of painting, and I was terrified of color when I was a kid. It was something that other people did, and I mean, in terms of no one caused me to be afraid of color. I mean to say, when I saw people painting, oh, that's for people who know things or have superpowers that I don't have. And when I first started to understand color, one of the things I got most excited about was the idea of teaching it, just because it was so hard for me. And I went, oh my gosh, if it could be explained a little bit easier, I think that people would be less afraid of it and then be able to go beyond even what I can do. So I'm telling you, Michael, and you know me very, very well, it is absolutely oh, there you go. Well, if it's almost 12, get some rest and then be ready to make art tomorrow. So good night, Alex. Have a really good evening and take care. But yeah, Michael, it is intimidating. I mean, this is the thing about it, is it's like anything, and I have no problem teaching you how to paint. Like oh, congratulations. Oh, terrific. It's one of those things to where yeah, see, this is what it is. I mentioned this earlier in the stream, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, but it's like I didn't start learning how to play the violin until 6 months ago, and it is wonderful. I have a great teacher, my teacher Jeremy. If Jeremy's around, or if he sees this later, Jeremy, thank you for introducing me to this beautiful, wonderful world of music. But I love passing on. Oh, that's so great. I know. Well, you are a great niece, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. We're going to have lots of fun, and we can go over some art stuff when I get there. Have a good night's sleep, okay? And I'll see you soon. And so this is the thing about it for me is that when I think about art, when I think about painting, and I think about what we do as artists, anytime anybody comes up to me and says, hey, I want to learn how to paint, or I want to do color, particularly friends of mine like my buddy the Choice Voice over here, and captain of the Valiant. I'm always excited to teach it because it's like we get to nerd out and talk about all other manner of things, much like I do here. But also, I can't imagine that people won't learn it if I can explain it well enough. It's just how I see things. I love teaching motivated people how to do things, and because it's like me with the violin. I will practice making terrible sounds until my wife leaves me. Bless her. She's actually the one who got me the lessons and got me the violin. So she's amazing. But it's yeah. I'm just one of those people that life is too short, and I want to learn how to do everything I can learn to do, and have all the experiences I can have with cool and interesting people. And I can't overstate the importance of that. And in a lot of ways, that's what I'm always doing when I'm painting. Is my work is not. I don't try to do this auteur work or anything like that. All right, take care. Have a good night, Alex. My work is not about me trying to it's not it's not particularly pretentious. In fact, whenever I try to do something that's too deep, it never works. But I will say that that's a little bit about what this piece is. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here so you guys can see more of it, and you can see the character that they're riding on as they go through this. And those figures are really rough right now. They're not anywhere near where they're going to be. But sorry for any motion sickness this is causing people. But when I'm working on this stuff, the thing I'm always trying to do is I'm always thinking about something. And when I paint, I don't want to say, it's not like I go into some kind of trance or something like that, but I really stop, I turn off my mind and kind of go into the purely athletic aspect of painting. And that's the best advice I could give anybody on doing your artwork is be making stuff. Don't overthink what it's going to be or whether it's going to be good or bad. Try to make it good by focusing on whatever the subject is. If you want to get better at painting skeletons and you don't know how to paint them yet, get some really good reference of it. If you want to know how to do comics, the best way to learn is to look at comics. I was listening to a exactly, yeah. I always say, it's such a good way of putting it too. Is that I always say, imagine your brain is in your hand when you're drawing. Like, imagine that your brain is firmly located in your hand. It should feel like a very physical thing. I was watching a boxing coach who's passed away recently, named Roger Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather's longtime trainer, and Roger had some kind of particularly colorful expression. He said most people don't know stuff about boxing, we'll say, but what he said is that you can watch boxing from the outside, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to do it. Yeah, you have to be in the zone. There's a physicality to it, and that physicality to boxing really comes from, it's not what it would be like if I was watching somebody fight. It's like, what's it really like when somebody suddenly changes position and they're somewhere else, and I have to think about them. Or it's a very physical thing, and that was the first thing I noticed about playing the violin, is how different it is from watching somebody play the violin. Obviously, I'd watch my teacher do something and I would try to do it, and it's not that I was naive about it, but I would at all. When he would do a demonstration for me of him playing something, I felt like I was watching magic, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. But there's something so important about making sure we do it, and we, as Saul Bass would say, that we confront that piece of paper, forthrightly. And I think that's important. Like, set out, try to do something, try to do it really well, and then look at what you've done and really think about how you can improve it. Thinking about how, for me anyway, thinking about, it's not very good is almost irrelevant in terms of your progress. Or it's not irrelevant isn't the word I'm looking for. It's not useful. It's not productive to do that. You have to sort of look at it from the standpoint of, if you don't know how to improve it, thinking about the fact that it's not good is not really useful. So get it in front of people who know more, and also study more. The definition of overworking your stuff, which will exhaust you, is trying to apply more force to a problem you don't have more information on to solve. And so if you don't have more information on how to do a thing, thank goodness for YouTube, thank goodness for the internet. There's no shortage of information online that you can get. And so just make sure that you're not grinding your gears trying to solve how to do something without more information. And when I run into a problem with when I'm trying to learn how to play the violin, I either watch a YouTube video, or if it's between classes, or I make sure I ask my teacher how to do it. You know, simple things like how do you breathe and how do you line things up. You can find answers like that online. But if you have a teacher, it's really useful too. So there we go. We got some skeletons happening in here now. It's got a little bit of the Beetlejuice thing happening. It's like, I've always loved Halloween, and I've always loved, haunted houses and that kind of thing, and I think I'll be that way forever. I was watching this YouTuber who has a channel called Matt's Rad Show, and he goes to Slovakia and visits the castle where they filmed Nosferatu. I think I've watched that video way too many times, but I love watching people go to those locations, those filming locations, and actually the music that you're hearing right now is the background music that he used for that. That's where I go. If I do, when I do more Halloween type stuff, that's what I want to use. That's what I want to do. So let's see here if we can get, there we go. Here's a little bit of a different view there. A little bit more, and then okay, yeah, that's not bad. See if I can get the focus to happen a little bit more. Here we go. Oh yeah, drawing monsters is great. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, beautiful people are one of the hardest things to draw. And, I remember I watched these videos that Todd McFarlane did with Stan Lee back in the, I would say early 90s. And he would say his reason he loves drawing monsters is because you can't draw a wrong monster. And he'd say, if someone tells you it's wrong, you say, hey, what, have you seen that guy before? And that always made me laugh. It's so true. I mean, it's got to be, it's just so fun. It's so fun doing creatures and comics and scary stuff and robots and like whatever you're into. You want to make sure you're making it, you're having a, I don't want to say it's just all about having a good time, but because I frankly enjoy working hard, so it's tough for me to say, oh, it's not about having a good time, because I have a good time when I'm working hard. I have a good time when I'm cleaning the dishes and vacuuming the house. I'm just one of those people. But I think that you want to make sure the audience is having a good time. And, I don't necessarily know if you have to have a good time on something for the audience to have a good time, because looking at Evil Dead 1, which a lot of people loved, that was a nightmare for the filmmakers. There's so many stories of making artwork where it was absolutely not fun. But they set out to make sure that the audience had a good time, and they really thought about how the audience would experience the film or the comic book or anything else. And so I really try to sit down and sort of think about all of the great artists who've just entertained me over the years, and filmmakers who inspired me. I was telling someone just today, I was telling my one of my brothers, one of my many brothers of choice, I was telling them that I'm a child of Steven Spielberg. So movies like Close Encounters and E.T. and Jaws and I could say obviously I love George Lucas as well. Raiders of the Lost Ark and all that stuff I enjoy, but there's a movie like E.T. is just one of those films for me that is tells you a lot about what where I fell when those movies were coming out in the 80s, how old I was. It was just it hit me at the exact perfect time. I mean, I think many people would say that, but I just love that creature. I have friends who work in special effects and who tell me, the body of that creature it's really not that great of a design, but they all acknowledge that there's just something unbelievably charming about it, and quite powerful in that film. And I loved watching that. My kids know how much I love E.T. It's one of my favorite. If I ever end up going to Universal Studios, which I hope to do at some point, I want to ride that ride again, the E.T. ride down there. One of my absolute favorite movies, and I love that ride. And it's been improved a lot since I was there last. So that's one of my many on my list of things I want to do once I get the money and the time to do it. There we go. Sometimes when you're painting something that's kind of that's round, it may sound kind of odd, or something that's organic, but one of the rules I have is when in doubt, angle it out. And so I think that oftentimes what gets people tripped up when they're illustrating anatomy or skeletons or creatures is having too many curves in it and not enough angles. Because the way that light comes at things and hits them, it creates these angles. It moves in a sort of a straight line, and so it creates angles when it hits, something that's curved. And so if you put those in, even if you have no reference, if you put those in, it gives the illusion of it being more believable than if it was a curve. And it's such a strange thing to realize when you start doing that, and suddenly your stuff becomes more lifelike, because you'd think angles would make it less so, but that's one of those little things that I've figured out when I try to explain this stuff to people, that I went, oh, I think I know how to explain this. And, I certainly didn't come up with it, but, I came to it just by, experimentation. And then everybody was like, yeah, of course you didn't know that. It's like, oh, well. There we go. Looks like these guys are coming together pretty well. So we've got, but this page is not going to have it's not going to have a rectilinear border on it. So it's not going to be, it's not going to have a hard edge. It's designed to have this kind of Art Nouveau panel border on it. So it's going to have these really graceful, kind of curves on the border, so it looks like it's moving through space. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's, different people have different colors. I'm an orange-blue person. I'll be an orange-blue person probably for the rest of my life. Some of my favorite horror stuff is done in red-green, but, I just love doing, the orange-blue thing. It's just a huge part of what I do. You see here. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I love it's based and inspired by a cane corso, which is this particular gigantic, intimidating breed of dog in terms of visually. I'm sure they can be quite lovely. And so I've been wanting to do kind of a King Kong like dog for a while, and in a story. And I had it originally. It was going to be kind of when I first was toying with the idea of this character, it was going to be more of a villainous type character or a monster. And so when I got the chance to, or gave myself the chance in a sense, because I'm publishing and illustrating this and going to be crowdfunding it. But when I decided to do this character, I was like, it just doesn't feel right to me. Like I can do enough scary stuff with vampires and monsters and werewolves in this story. That I love monsters. I love creatures. So I can't, I couldn't bring myself to make this creature something that was scarier, or it can be intimidating, but I wanted to make it be intimidating like King Kong. And forgive me if, I doubt I'm alone, because most people I know are who are monster movie fans. I identify with King Kong. That is the character. When I'm watching a King Kong movie, I'm rooting for King Kong. I'm not rooting for the human characters. It's just the way I am. I just identify. I have no shortage. If you look behind me, and I don't know if you can see this, I'll do a little quick pan over here. But if you look behind me, you can see a painting of King Kong by Frank Frazetta. You see the Incredible Hulk and Spider-Man, obviously, that have been there. But you've got King Kong from 1933 here, I think it is. You've got King Kong from Skull Island with Sam Jackson. And then you've got Peter Jackson's King Kong over there, and there's even another gorilla. So yeah, I'm a big King Kong fan and Godzilla fan. You can see Godzilla pretty well represented there too. I think there's 2 Godzilla in the shot, and there's 3 up here. So yeah, love giant gorillas. Love the idea of giant pets and giant dogs. So he's got a little bit of a a King Kong quality to him. I know. I love them. I love them so much. I love monsters. I love creature films. I had so much fun with the Kong versus Godzilla movie. It just was fun. I know you got out to see that in a theater, and I think you did a really great review on that and on the theater going experience. And then you did a great podcast on it too, for that matter. I forget the gentleman's name who you did the podcast with. But I thought all that stuff was so great, and I thought that I actually didn't know that the actress in that movie is third generation deaf mute. So I mean, I assumed that she knew sign language, but I thought she was wonderful casting. You can see some great interviews with her, but there's a comic book colorist who I follow named Kyle Ritter, and Kyle Ritter is also a deaf mute, and it was fascinating to me to the way that character was portrayed as being tied into this character knows. I forget what the particular type of sign language is that they were speaking, and then tying that into how smart we know that gorillas can be in terms of communication. It just added a whole nother layer to that character. I love a world where Kong can express things in sign language. Because obviously I've watched a documentary on Coco the gorilla, and I just love that. I love gorillas, and I love gorillas, and I love orangutans. Chimpanzees scare the hell out of me. Those things are evil. I mean, I like them in the Planet of the Apes, the recent Planet of the Apes movies, and obviously in the original. But yeah, chimpanzees are terrifying. But yeah, I mean, I love drawing apes of any kind. Orangutans. One of my favorite artists, his name is Tomek. I think it's Radziewicz. I probably pronounced his name terribly, but I follow him on Instagram, and he does these beautiful sculptures. And this other company that I rather like called Rebor did some, did one of his sculptures as a figurine, and it's beautiful. That's a gorilla, so it's of course my favorite. But I will say this: if they did do a chimpanzee of his stuff, I'd buy it, because I do think chimps look amazing. I just find them terrifying because they're seriously strong, seriously smart, and they don't have a pleasant disposition with one another, or certainly with us if they're agitated. Not vegetarians, as a rule. Maybe a primatologist will come in here and correct me. I don't know. But let's see here. Here we go. All right. So how long have I been streaming for? Oh my gosh. I've been streaming for an hour here. All right. So listen, folks. Here's my plan. I am going to go and wrap this stream up because I am completely wiped. Do like and subscribe if you have not yet. I'm guessing a lot of you guys already have. But if you haven't hit the like button, smash that like button. We got 8 people in here, and we've got only 5 likes. How is that even possible? It does help, and it is very appreciated. I'm going to keep working on this. I promise, now that I've got this setup working, and I think it's a much better setup for me. You can see the drawing board a lot better. I'm going to try to do more of these streams, and I kind of have to recharge after I finish my teaching year. And kind of get back into a groove. But please like and subscribe. Please, watch more videos on this channel. I've got a lot more streams, but I think it's probably one of the best ones I've done so far, just in terms of I like the stuff I'm working on. But everybody, take care, stay safe, have a great evening, and thank you so much for checking it out. I will, my friend. Yeah, all of you guys, have a great night. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, The Choice Voice. I appreciate it, everybody. And take care, and I will talk to you soon. All right? Bye, everybody.